Steve, would you like to comment?
Well, there's a lot of differences, I think, between being born with a disability, and that's all you know, and acquiring a disability at a later age. And we've heard, just on the people who are up here, we've heard a lot of different ages when people acquire or realize they have a disability. And why wouldn't it be hard? That's my answer, given how we look at disability in not only this culture, but every culture that I know about. So we tend to look at disability as something that's to be ashamed of, that it's negative. That's what we're all taught. It doesn't matter if we have a disability or not. Almost all of us are taught that. And historically, that's how we've been taught. And that's one of the reasons I started talking about pride, to try and help change that perception. So, yes, I think it's when you're aware of a disability as you're older, it's different, and having a disability because of aging, I think, is also different. It's a very complicated group of people, and that's pretty much everybody. Because if you may have a disability, you may know somebody with a disability, or you may meet somebody with a disability. So it behooves all of us, I think, to change it, change the way we perceive it.
I have a question. What technology has proven to be useful with people with disabilities? New technology.
Shall I start?
I'll speak about that. Well, there's a lot of technology for my disability, which is deafness. You know, a lot of the newer technology, we used to have only the TTY, which was very old-fashioned. Now we have a video phone, a text telephone. So the video phone works with, you know, an interpreter in between, like a mediator interpreting between the deaf person making the phone call and the hearing person receiving the phone call, and just made it a lot smoother. And Sky's saying the video phone is great. There's a one that is travel size, and you can carry it with you. And Vanessa's saying, yeah, there's a video telephone, and Vanessa's saying there's a cochlear implants, there's hearing aids. There's just a lot more technology. It's really taken off in the last 10 years or so with people with, for deafness in particular. I don't know about people with other disabilities, but you can talk about that.
Well, for me, I can't type. So I'm using a speech recognition software where I talk and it starts typing. Usually it types when I want. Not always. I can also use just the navigate between windows and all that. That has been practical. And then there's the wheelchair. These have advanced over the years. They're a lot more, well, they're a lot more complicated. They can do all sorts of things. The mind can tilt itself backward. Some can actually go vertical into a standing position. And I'm also sitting on some rather advanced technology. A pillow that mimics honeycomb. Very perfect.
What is that?
She said, you mentioned that cochlear implant. What is that?
Cochlear implant is a very common device right now in our country, and it's been very tough for the deaf community as a whole to accept that, because it feels like, to people who strongly disagree with it, it feels like it changes who we are. That's from a very strong deaf perspective. The other perspective might be that it's more neutral, like it's like a hearing aid, but it's more, it works on a deeper level. It's more fancy. It helps people to hear more on, like on a deeper level. There's, you know, you use a FM system, you use a system that relates to the part of your brain, the cochlea, and it's more sensitive, I guess, and people can really improve their speech and their hearing more specifically than with a hearing aid. But it's not always successful, so that's where the controversy lies. You really have to put a lot of hard work in learning the speech, practicing to hear and recognize sounds. In order to talk perfectly, you have to have a lot of speech therapy. Dad's guy. So it's a big controversial issue within deaf culture right now. Yeah.
Rihanna, did you have something to say?
Well, some people of you might know Stephen Hawking, the astrophysicist. He has a severe disability. He has Lou Gehrig's disease, but due to the technology that is out, he can still do his research. He can still do his work. Yes, a lot has been done, but as Steve will tell you, there's still a lot that needs to be done to make it easier for people with disabilities to live a normal and full life.
I actually want to mention one thing in the question from Don there, and that is the Pacific Rim Conference did it happen or it's going to happen?
It was a couple weeks ago.
Oh, Jazz, okay. Because that's one of the locally based conferences that touches on all of these things that we're talking about. And Steve works with some of the staff there at Center for Disability Studies. And it's, if you talk about how to educate yourselves on what's cutting edge on research or devices, it's a wonderful place to be. And it comes once a year, right, Steve? Yeah.
Every spring in Honolulu.
Thank you.
Last year, see, we're already thinking about next year. So a few weeks ago, there were about 1,000 people who came from all over the world.
It's called the Pacific
Rim Conference on Disabilities, and it's easy to find on the web. It's at rim, PACRIM, .hawaii.edu.
So we have the partner to
I can talk about I've been also recently in my adult life been diagnosed with personality disorders and mental disorders, and it's hard to see coming from a place where you feel like nothing's wrong with you, and then all of a sudden you're told something's wrong with you, and you're not normal or you're different, and that's, for me, also growing up with, my brother here, who's also deaf, and people said, he's special, he's different, and to me, I'm like, yeah, he's smart, if that's what you mean, but I never understood that he's disabled. To this day, still, I don't feel like he's disabled, or, maybe I'm in denial, and I don't think I'm not disabled, but I feel like it's like, we're so sucked in our culture of what is normal and what is not normal, and having to fit into these small norms, this elite group of people that say what is okay, what is not okay. I just really appreciate the community and what everyone does, especially Susan. She helps me too with my classes. So just want to thank everybody.
There was another hand up there, no?
Okay. I'm wondering, Martin, you say you traveled to other countries? Did you say that, or
Yes.
you haven't?
Yes, I have.
Okay, I was just wondering, in that respect, your experiences in America versus other countries, like with the bathroom facilities or the movies or the museums, or America compared to other countries. You want to talk on that a little?
Yes. I would say America's a lot better in that respect. A lot of European countries, the biggest difference in Europe is you don't see disabled people. typing somewhere. Somewhere. And if you look, there are no curb cuts anywhere. There are elevators there. Rather slow. And there are all sorts of rather ridiculous stuff going on there. Cardiologist's office, up a flight of stairs, and no elevator. And there is a sort of attitude in the educational system that you shouldn't be putting disabled kids with the other kids, because how can you do that to the poor kids? The shock, the horror. And that used to be done in the U.S. too. There were these schools for disabled people where they all went and you didn't see them. And apparently we changed that, I don't know how many years ago, but Europe seems to be reluctant to change that.
So they're a bit behind.
They're quite behind. Like, I'm from Holland. I'm a deaf man from Holland, and my experience has been quite different. I've never seen a person in a wheelchair, really. And, at a coffee shop, the bathrooms are, it's very frustrating. They're small, and I have another friend, deaf friend, who uses a wheelchair. It's just like, forget about it. You can't go anywhere.
Yeah, pretty much it.
I also know that, other countries, England, Sweden, have you been to any sort of countries like that have, that may have better services?
Well, I've been to Sweden. I think they have a legislation similar to the ADA, but I didn't notice very many differences. I mean, I was only there for 2 days, so I didn't see very much. But there is one place where it is actually simple. Train system. They have it's essentially a short-range booth type thing, where they jack you up and then you can just roll onto the train. They have a whole system set up. You can get on the train somewhere, switch trains. It works fine. I mean, for some reason, Italy was the best organized train system. Well, I'm sure. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
Well, it's interesting when you travel with a person that has a disability. You make arrangements from the US, then you come there. That happened in Sweden. We were booked for a hotel that's handicapped accessible. We come there, there's a step. Okay, well, if you can get with a manual wheelchair, you can over that step. Then we were told that we will have an accessible room in the second floor, but no problem, we have an elevator. Yes, but in order to go to the elevator, you have to get up some stairs. Then we checked out the elevator, but the elevator was too small for a person with a wheelchair. So there are obstacles and things happen like, yes, the trains, as Martin said, are very good, but depending on the train station you go to, if the train leaves on platform 3, there are stairs to go up and down to platform 3. So you have the accessible train, but you cannot go there. So it's interesting.
I have a little bit additional perception, not different, but additional, having not only traveled a bit as well, including Sweden, but also having some friends in some of these places. And in Scandinavia, there's a lot of services. But what my friends in those countries, generally the way they talk about their services compared to what we have here, is they have services, and they frequently talk about the way we live as barbaric, if we have, and that's their word, not my word, if you have a disability, because they have incredible support systems as citizens, which is a little bit different than what Martin and Marianne are talking about. However, their perception is we have civil rights, which they don't have.
I just want to say a very brief thing. You've shared some very personal experiences tonight, and I feel like I'm getting to know you a little bit. And when I see you, I hope I can say hello. And I think what you've done tonight has just opened a lot of new thinking, new awareness, new, just a lot of newness. And I hope we all feel the same way. And I know two of you. And you now, what is Steve? And then this is Sky here, and Vanessa. And then it's Susan. And your name? Callie. And your name? Willie. Okay. Well, I'm Susan, and I hope to be able to say hello to you after this. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else have a question or comment that they'd like to share or ask?
I have something.
Yes.
I have a comment and a question and an announcement.
Okay. I think we can hear you.
So my comment is that to the extent that Hollywood constructs our lives and our history in America, which we know they do fantastic work in Hollywood, you have brought Hollywood to Hilo. Thank you, Martin. Let's have a hand for that. Thank you for bringing Hollywood. My comment is I'm having, or my announcement is I have an adaptive exercise class on May 14th in Paradise Park. So if you have a physical disability, a mobility impairment, or a life-threatening condition, I'm working with a PhD to do real low impact or no impact adaptive exercise, May 14th in the Paradise Park in Puna. The question I have is about Hollywood. Hollywood is a really important part of our lives, and I did some assessments of portrayals of the handicapped and our self-esteem in Hollywood movies as part of my master's thesis. I'd like to hear some movies that people have recently seen that actually have good messages about people with disabilities. Recent ones. I'm looking for new ones.
How to connect with on the web for the exercise.
Temple Grandin. Temple Grandin. It's the best recent one I've seen. Temple Grandin.
Temple Grandin.
It's a made for HBO movie
Okay.
about a woman with autism and her life. She's also a scientist.
I heard someone in the audience say Avatar. Haven't seen it. Anyone else?
Is there a website for that?
For my exercise?
Yes.
That's disabilityenterprises.com.
Did everyone get that? disabilityenterprises.com.
I think if Ron Evanson were to be here, he would probably say something like the train car or train box watcher or something like that. I've seen it. It's a DVD that you can rent through Netflix. Pretty heavy, pretty real, and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Train box, what?
I think it's called a train car watcher or something like that. Train car watcher. Yes, it's not on your typical. I don't have a mic.
You don't have a mic? No. You gave it up. I really think I need one either, so I should put my note. Does anyone else have anything else they'd like to add? If not, I'd like to thank you all very, very. There's somebody over there. Hi. I'm gonna get you all. Yay. Would you like to? Do we need a mic? No. Okay. Terrific.
I have a question for Sky. I read that she has a daughter, so I was wondering if she could talk a little bit about raising a child with being deaf.
Sure. Yeah, she's right here in the corner. In the purple shirt over there. And anyway, we raise our daughter. She's hearing and she can sign and she communicates both with me and her father. We taught her sign language. basic signs. She can sign herself. We're raising her normal, like any other kid. Yeah. That's all.
She likes to hear from the dad.
Oh.
She likes to hear from the dad.
Oh, yes.
No?
Susan, nice to hear from the dad. Sure, I'll say something. I'm the dad, and I'm, Sky's my girlfriend, our daughter's hearing, and, it's just real comfortable communicating with Leihua, our daughter. And, we're just like a normal family, really. So, yeah. Can the interpreter say something? May have some comments or something.
Sure. Children born to deaf parents are called codas, children of deaf adults. My parents are deaf. There's 6 kids in our family. 4 of us became interpreters. Only 2 of us are still interpreters. And all of us have taken it a different way. Some of us have taken it positively. We saw the injustices that were going on with our parents, and it came to the core of us. It's our culture. Our parents' deaf culture is our culture. Our parents' language was my first language. So I decided to do something about it. I felt frustrated, and so interpreting was a way that I could make a difference. My older sister, on the other hand, hated being associated with deaf parents and deaf culture and the signing because it's so visible, and she kind of wanted to hide away from it. Well, now she has 2 deaf children and is dealing with how to do the best thing for her deaf kids. Like Vanessa was saying, the cochlear implant is a very controversial issue. My parents, when they discovered my sister had a deaf child, they said, "Are you going to do that cochlear implant thing? If you do, we'll disown you." So, and she was trying to do the right thing for her children, and both of her deaf kids are different. The older one, she's a girl, she likes socializing, she likes wearing hearing aids, and she's kind of, she likes the oral program. Her younger brother, however, he loves signing, somebody's moving their hands and all of a sudden he's ignited, he's deaf, he's deaf culture. He uses ASL as his native language, so that's a good example of how deaf people take it differently and how their parents take it differently, and then even the children of deaf adults, we have different outcomes and different reactions to it as well.
So may I ask a question now? Why are your parents against a cochlear implant for their grandchildren?
It comes from my father. He's genetically deaf. He has 32 deaf cousins. He's the youngest of them all. So, gradually over time, the deaf gene in our family is becoming watered down, as they say. When my parents had hearing children, they would clap and the kid would cry, and my dad says, "Oh, another hearing one," They wanted me to have someone who's like them, right? And my dad would blame my mom because she's not genetically deaf. She became hard of hearing at the age of 4 or 5 years old, and then became deaf later on. And so he says, "Your hearing genes are affecting our family happiness and our deaf culture and everything." And she says, "Your deaf genes ain't strong enough." So it's a matter of culture, and we're very proud of it.
I was wondering with Sky, how are you raising your daughter differently from what how your parents raised you? Your parents raised you the best way they can because you're disabled and can't hear, and you're more understanding. So how do you raise your daughter differently than from your parents? How would you like to raise your daughter differently?
Well, I won't raise her differently. I'll treat her the same as any other hearing kid. But I want her to also be involved with the deaf community. And like Kume just said, Kume is also also a CODA, and she has deaf parents, so similar to my daughter. Yeah. So I won't raise her any different than any other kids, you know, and maybe not any differently than how I was raised.
I meant not you having her be different in the community, like you're having her to where she can interact with, you know, disabled and people who are, you know, differently able. But I meant like you as a person, do you think differently how to raise your daughter in a way that you think is best, like in how your parents raised you? Not that you're having your daughter deaf and regular community.
No, I really don't feel there is a difference because I was raised in a similar way, you know, that my daughter's being raised. I guess the only difference is, well, you know, I'm deaf, but I wasn't really raised any differently than what we're doing. Yeah. Vanessa's saying, I'd like to add something. I was raised with an all-hearing family, but my sister and I were the only two deaf people in our whole entire family, extended family for generations. But I can tell a little bit of difference between, you know, how we were raised with hearing parents versus other people who were raised that have deaf parents. It really depends on the situation, but my parents were very supportive of deaf culture. They didn't, you know, want things to be us to be behind in the world. They pushed us fully to do everything equal. You know, they didn't let anything stop us. And sometimes I see deaf people with deaf parents kind of raised the same way. You know, there's nothing bad at all. It's just a different way of learning their language, I guess. And children with deaf parents who are hearing themselves, the CODAs, they learn sign language first. You know, I don't know your perspective, Sky, but, you know, my parents pushed me to learn ASL first, even though English was their language, you know, so we all did it as a family. We took ASL classes together, we progressed together in the language. I also did some speech therapy for a few years until we felt enough was enough. You know, my dad expected that. I didn't want any more speech therapy. You know, I mean, they didn't really find that offensive. They just thought that was like, okay, that's the way I was. And, you know, my parents' perspective and other parents' perspective of a deaf kid, or if deaf parents have a hearing kid, you know, reactions are always going to be different. So, yeah.
Good. I have a question. I'm going to have to call this the last question of the evening, as much as I hate to interrupt the dialogue. Yes, sir.
Well, it wasn't really a question as much as a comment, especially about the cochlear implant question. What I've learned about the deaf culture is that if you had a pill today that you could offer to deaf people and said, this is going to cure you of your deafness, you'll be able to hear immediately after taking this pill, I think you'd be shocked that most of them wouldn't take the pill because they don't think there's anything wrong with them. They see themselves as being perfectly fine just communicating with a different language. So why would they want to make themselves different?
That's very true, Vanessa said. Very, very true.
And what a wonderful way to end the evening. Thank you all very much for coming.
Right, more grants to get more of the schools.
And our panelists all wanted to say one last thing to you, everybody together. 1,